request all the alumni who have connected with us through YouTube to drop in their questions, if any, in the YouTube live chat box, which we will pick at the end. We, the Guest Lectures Committee, bring you to the fourth conversation under Careers and Conversations, an elite and exclusive platform together with eminent speakers from different walks of life, reflecting on their personal and professional voyages. This platform aims to provide ample learning opportunities through real-life stories to faculty, students, and alumni alike. Today, we delve into growth happiness only outside the comfort zone. So today, for our fourth conversation, we welcome our distinguished guest, Alexander Gerding, a dynamic and visionary leader. The conversation will be led by Raman sir, Director at Somaiya Institute of Management. Now, I would request the Faculty Head of the Guest Lectures Committee, Arun Tukral sir, a Professor of Practice in Finance and Lead Corporate Relations, to introduce today's guest.
Thank you, Amisha. Welcome, Alex. So, it's a great honor to introduce Mr. Alexander Gerding, Managing Director, BASF India Limited and Head of BASF Group Companies in India. With over 2 decades of professional experience, Alex is a high-energy, hands-on leader with experience in leading with integrity, passion and respect. As MD of BASF India, Alex is focusing on expanding the business and supporting BASF customer and partner in the country. Born in Bremen, Germany in 1979, Alex joined BASF in 2000 under a dual study program. He obtained his MBA at UNCG US in 2005. He recently completed the Advanced Management program from prestigious Harvard Business School, becoming a Harvard alumnus. In his spare time, Alex enjoys spending time with his 4 kids and his wife Lucretia. And he has been kind enough to share some of the slide about his family, his personal interests. So I would, so it's there. So you can see him, the smiling face. As I told about his qualification, he has worked in different continents, emerging and mature markets. So now he's in India. So he calls himself a German with a Latin American touch.
Yes.
That's his parents, his brothers in his childhood, then they've grown up with his parents again, and his hobbies, his vacation. I think I leave this to Dr. Raman to ask more questions when he talks to me.
That's my family.
And this is his daily inspiration. And he has worked across US, Germany, Russia, Argentina, and now in India. Sorry. So I leave it here, and so he's a very, very interesting character, and we would want him to share stories, because all of us mostly want to hear business stories. But if you look at him, he is a person who believes in working hard and playing harder. So I think let's hear from him, and over to Dr. Raman.
Yeah, no, thank you, Arun. Can you hear me? Yeah. So Alex, welcome. I called up the other day to ask Alex what kind of title should we have for your talk, and I immediately chose the title of Growth Happens Outside Your Comfort Zone, and I said this is absolutely great, because this is I'm sure you've heard this, not so explicitly, but from some of the other speakers. If you want to really make a great career, you can't be in your comfort zone. So great thing. So let's delve into this. But as always, I want to start, right from the beginning. So I saw you have 3 brothers. 2 brothers. 2 brothers. 2 brothers. They're younger or younger?
One older, one younger. I'm the middle.
So you're the middle guy. Oh my
I'm
God.
the sandwich guy.
Okay. So we're going to talk about psychology and all the implications of,
Thank you so much for this invitation. I met Raman when he was outside his comfort zone, because the first time I met Raman was in Germany, many years ago, when he was actually on an assignment in Germany. So that's the first time I met him. And I also have to say, you all dressed up today, right?
We all
Really, everybody's dressed up, so I feel really privileged and honored to speak in front of all of you, and looking forward to this conversation. So, to your question, and you saw a little bit on the second slide, a little bit my background. So I always say I'm a German with a Latin American touch, which sounds already a bit strange, right? But my parents were actually born in South America, in Cali, Colombia. My grandparents were all Germans, yeah. My parents came to Germany then when they were studying, and they met actually and fell in love in Germany, and then the whole family started. So I was born then in Germany, but my father also had an international sort of career. He was a banker, and he was assigned to go abroad. Yeah, so he started his career in Germany, but then we went to Panama, Central America, and spent some time there, and also Costa Rica. Yeah, so when I grew up in my childhood, I always grew up with Spanish and German, sort of as the two languages at home. And I always, to your question, I always had this interest to go abroad. So although I'm German, I was born in Germany, I also studied in Germany. I always wanted to explore the world a bit, and obviously Latin America was an immediate connection because of our history as a family. So I always wanted to go to Central America, South America. That was always a dream. I never dreamt about ending up in a chemical company, I can tell you that. In fact, I was not good at chemistry.
Yeah.
So in school in Germany, when you finish school in 11th grade, you can actually deselect one grade. And guess which grade I deselected? Chemistry. I was good in physics and math, but not good in chemistry. So maybe it also had to do with the teachers. But and then I ended up in a chemical company, and I've been there for 24 years now. So no, I was not thinking of joining a chemical company, but and this also goes into stepping out of the comfort zone. The opportunity came up. My father one day came. I actually I was on the verge of studying engineering, yeah, connected to economics, so sort of business engineering. But then my father came one day with an extract of a newspaper article saying, "Hey, look at this company that is offering sort of a dual study program where you study and work and get paid for it on top. Looks interesting. You can also finish with an MBA in the US, so it's a very international company, a global company. Why don't you apply?" And then I applied, and I went through an assessment program, and I got selected. So that's how my career then started with BASF in 2000.
No, great. I think the students might be very interested to know a little bit more about the dual education thing. So straight after school, you joined BASF. Could you just kind of elaborate how this works?
Yeah, so in Germany, a lot of the large companies, but also mid-sized companies, also the Mittelstand, offer sort of dual career programs. Yeah, so what is a dual career programs? They basically handpick a selected number of graduates from school. So I was 19 years old at that time, roughly, and then you go through. It was a 5-year program. So you start actually with an apprenticeship. So I started with what we call Industriekaufmann, that is an apprenticeship. Then I studied at a University of Applied Sciences in Ludwigshafen, actually, where BASF's headquarters is at. And then I was able to complete the whole educational program with an MBA in the US, in Greensboro, in North Carolina.
And when you were studying in Ludwigshafen, so how many days did you work and how many days was it?
So usually, roughly, I would say half a year you studied, full time, and half a year you worked, basically. So multiple internships in a year. So I would say in the entire 5-year span, I think I had nine internships. Yeah? So I was in different businesses, different functions, even different countries. Yeah? I was in Spain, I was in the US. So you get to see the entire company from within, from multiple angles. Yeah? So that's quite interesting. And you apply immediately what you study. You apply immediately on the job in a way. So that was very helpful.
That's right. Yeah. And some who have done this have reached the board of BASF, right?
Actually, Mike Heinz, Michael Heinz has been in the board, the longest serving board member of BASF right now. he went through the same program. Yeah?
So don't be surprised.
No, but I will not.
Alex,
will not have it with me.
Great. So moving on, so you moved, you went from there to now being the head of BASF in India, and in between you've been in kind of different countries. So can you kind of take us through this journey and some of the critical decisions that you had to make in order to kind of have these multiple experiences?
So first, if you would have asked me, Raman, 20 years ago when I started in 2000, Alex, you will be working in Argentina and you will be working in the US. That I could still think, that makes sense, right? Because I lived in Central America, I speak Spanish, so Argentina makes sense, US makes sense. But then when you add Russia, and maybe even India, I had no connection to Eastern Europe, and I had no connection historically from my upbringing with Asia as well. I would have said, wow, that's a stretch. Yeah, that's an interesting. So what I want to say with that is that it's not like I had my career planned out from the beginning. Yeah? Opportunities arise along the way, and if you're open to step out of your comfort zone, to maybe go into places that you don't know, and if you also step into positions that maybe you haven't done before, because I started in marketing, but then I had the opportunity to do business management, to do sales management, now general management in my current position, so different functions as well. As long as you're open, as long as you put in hard work, opportunities come up along the way. And then you have to grasp them, right? So you have to take a leap of faith in yourself, have the backing of your family as well to do all these changes and jump into these exciting but also challenging opportunities, and then things happen. And this is the way that my career developed. I also would say that I probably also went to places and took on positions that went against the grain a bit. I remember one of my sponsors telling me, or somebody that I looked up to and that I always went to have as a sounding board. Hey, what do you think about this opportunity that is coming up? So I remember one opportunity when I went to Ames, Iowa, to the Midwest in the US. One of my sponsors sort of said, Alex, don't do that. Don't go there. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's a small business. Nobody cares about it. We'll probably divest it soon. Don't do it. And I still did it. And if I would not have done that step, I would not be here today. So sometimes going against, following your gut feeling is also very important. Yeah. So if you think, oh, this is a great opportunity, it's great people that I will be working with, you feel comfortable, follow your gut. Yeah, and even if you have opinions, and you will always have a lot of opinions. You ask 5 people, you get 6 different opinions. Yeah, these are all good because you can reflect and it resonates, with you as well. And it's good to have suggestions and recommendations. But at the end, you also have to sort of follow your gut.
So let's dissect the decision-making process a little bit. So do you actually then you get an offer and then you start sitting down and saying pros and cons, and you talk to a bunch of people? Is that how you do it, or?
A little bit, yes. You do that. I'm German as well, right? So
exactly.
I mean, that's where maybe the German part comes out a bit. You do that, but you do that. You know what? You do that in. You have 1 hour to do that. Often, or maybe half a day.
Exactly. That's right,
Not to be too extreme, but so usually, yes, of course, and the moment that you're not alone anymore, but you're married, and you have a spouse.
Exactly,
I mean, this decision is not only your decision, right? So it's a family decision, and then the moment you have children, the situation changes again, right? Because now you have a responsibility for an entire family, and so every decision you take in terms of change, you obviously have to reflect how does it impact the family. So those elements of reflection are very important. But usually in the opportunities that came up along the way, and they also always came up by people that I looked up to, by colleagues that I worked with or that I worked for in the past. So there's a certain trust element as well, that I will enter into an environment that will be constructive, that will be positive. Well, I will be supported as well. So that is certainly also an element that goes along with this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you have to have some kind of anchor. And my anchor was always, I'm in the same company, right? So you might say, Alex, you haven't taken a lot of risk because you've always worked 24 years for the same company, even though different countries, different functions, different contexts. But the anchor was sort of, there was always one anchor. One anchor was BASF. It's the same company, so I know the culture of the company. I know the direction of the company. And another anchor is is a family anchor, right? So every decision like this is a fundamental decision. It's an impactful decision. So you have to have the family behind. So when it comes to the decision-making process, consulting with the family. You know, since it was always BASF that I was moving with, I always felt very, very comfortable that I'm taking a risk, I'm taking a leap of faith, but I know that the context will somehow be there to support. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Now I want to just stop here and kind of, you know, ask the students and graduates to think of this because, you know, as we go through the placement season, I know I get a lot of feedback about how some of you say that I will only work in Delhi, I will only work in Mumbai, I don't want to go this place, that place. I tell you, if you don't take those risks and get out of your comfort zone at this stage in your career, you know, your career growth is going to be impeded. Yeah. So be adventurous, be curious, be bold, and take those decisions. Don't be so stuck with, you know, I grew up in Mumbai, so I will only work in Mumbai. It's not going to help you in the long run. So, great. So moving on. So you know, I kind of wrote this question here for you. It's, you know, 3 continents and 4 countries, right? That's where he has worked. Now, 4th continent and 5th country. So a lot of cross-cultural experiences. You know, Russia to Argentina to India to Germany, US. So tell me a little bit about how these being in different cultures has shaped you as a person and also as a leader.
For sure. I mean, first of all, it's been really a privilege and an honor to be able to experience, live, and work in all those different countries. Yeah, I know that not everybody has that opportunity. Yeah, so it's really been a privilege. What I think one thing that that really shapes you as a person, but also then professionally in your leadership journey is to be open and to not arrive with preconceptions, because there's always you know, preconceptions, prejudices. I give you an example. Before going to Russia, I was in the US. In fact, one of my American colleagues said, Alex, what did you do wrong that they're sending you to Siberia? Yeah. So I mean, that already, there's a misconception already in that sentence. Yeah. But and I remember an intercultural training that I received before going to Russia, saying, hey, never smile in Russia.
Oh.
Because then the Russians think you're not taking them seriously. And that's actually not true. Yeah. Actually, I found we were 6 years in Russia as a family. we had a great time there. We met many nice people. And we were treated very, very respectfully. 3 of our 4 children were born there. So going into a country with preconceptions, prejudices, I think is wrong. You know, I always say, go there, make your own experiences from the inside, but don't look at a country from the outside only. Yeah. So that's one element, and connected to that also respecting the history and the traditions. And immersing yourself into, you know, those traditions as well. Don't go somewhere into another place thinking that you will be able to impose your way of thinking or your upbringing that you have had in your country. That will never happen. Yeah, you will rather be adapted to the country than you adapt the country or your organization to a certain way of thinking. So that's another element, that you know, this element of adapting yourself, but then still setting certain maybe impulses, that will bring the company along, will enable the company go to the next next phase, also maybe bringing the experiences that you bring from the outside in, which can be helpful and valuable for the development of the business and the company. So, but I think to close it is really having an open mind, not coming with preconceptions, and respecting really the traditions, the culture, the history, and also trying to understand the history and the culture more. I think those are key elements, and with that you mature as a person and also as a leader, and you really become a global citizen in the way, and you are able then to understand many things much better than just reading from a newspaper article somewhere.
No, great. I can relate to the first one where you talked about, don't judge and don't take this kind of. And I remember, much younger, newly married, we had an opportunity to work in the Philippines, and not in Manila, but outside of Manila. And we had an option to live in a housing quarters within the research institution that I was working for, or out in the community. And we decided to go out in the community. And the number of advices that we got: don't go out of your house after 7 o'clock, it's dangerous, they shoot you, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, we very freely, and Philippines is a, lovely people, and very friendly. So yeah, sometimes these are based on one incident that happened to one person out of million. So don't get carried away by that and experience it. So by the way, what advice did they give you when you came to India?
So I actually didn't have any intercultural training before coming to India.
Okay.
And I had never been in India before, so I was sort of dropped into cold water in a way. But no, but I have to say as a family, first of all, we were very warmly welcomed by the team, by everybody we met. So we, from day one, felt very comfortable coming here. And it was certainly, if I compare it to Russia, it was much easier, because in Russia it's very cold and the language is very different. In India it's warm and everybody speaks English. So those two elements were much easier to kickstart our journey in India. And this last 1.5 years have been very enriching. I mean, India is the place to be right now. I mean, also especially in the chemical industry, and you will know that as well. I mean, there's a lot of attention, a lot of focus on India. So it's the right place to be. And also as a family, we are very happy here. The kids are super happy in school. We have a lot of activities. Our social life also outside of school outside of the work is very active. So our weekends are completely packed with 4 children. You can imagine. It's very difficult to get a little bit of me time to even read a book. So so we're very happy, and we've been welcomed very warmly.
So they didn't give you a training on the Great Indian Head Shake and how to interpret that?
I'm still trying to figure out what that head shake means in one or the other. It really depends, right? It sort of depends.
Exactly,
But no, I didn't get. And I mean, I was advised, take it easy with the Indian food. Take some time to adjust. But now,
so that was my other question, that have you put on weight after you came to India?
I did. And in fact, I'm not vegetarian, but if you want to become vegetarian, this is the place to become vegetarian.
This is the place.
Fantastic food, and obviously a bit spicy, but now when there's food, when I go back to Germany and I get food served, and there's no spiciness, I'm like, this is not real food. I mean, this doesn't taste anymore. Where's the spiciness? So I've gotten used to the spiciness. It started slow and then increased over time, and the food is fantastic.
So I have a question which is about kind of you always say that you need to leverage the strength of the team member, right? So I'm going to pose you a hypothetical question here. So you've got in your team an Argentinian, an American, a German, an Indian, and a Russian.
Oh, okay.
How will you allocate different jobs? For example, who will you give sales management? Who will you give the finance controlling job, assuming that they all know all the subjects well?
That's a tough one.
Who will get the marketing? Who will get the operations?
Oh, Raman, you're putting me on the spot here, because whatever I say,
We're going to get you into
can
trouble.
be attacked.
That's
We're getting
right.
into trouble. But. So let me think about this. So first of all, I've met people from all different cultures that can do each of those jobs perfectly, right?
True.
I mean, there's Indians that can do all 5 of those functions extremely well. And in fact, there's many, I mean, the Indian diaspora outside, especially in the economic circles and business circles, I mean, is amazing. I mean,
we even have an Indian in the BASF board in Germany,
we have
right?
an Indian in the BASF board. It's not the first one, it's the second one that we've had
Anup
in the BASF
Kothari,
board. And I recently was in Harvard, and I saw the dean of Harvard was Harvard Business School is Indian. Most of the professors that lectured, were Indian origin. So, I mean, the Indian diaspora is amazing outside of India as well, and I think very influential as well in many, not only in the academic field, but also in the business field. But coming back to your question, I'm not trying to escape the question. So I would say, based on my experience in all of those countries, and a little bit what I observed, when I look at Argentina, Argentinians are very family oriented. They are good speakers. They are very convincing. When you speak to them. So I would say sales. I can imagine Argentinians. They will do that very well.
Absolutely.
Much better than Germans. So sales I would maybe assign to Argentina in that respect. Then, if I look at marketing, I mean, I work in the U.S. I think one thing that I learned in the U.S. is, I mean, Americans are perfect at marketing. I mean, when it comes to branding, marketing, I think they're excellent in that field. So marketing, I would probably assign to the American. Now it becomes tricky. I'm going to end with India, yeah. So and you will then know, where I'm closing in. But maybe the next one, strategy. There I have to be maybe a little bit based on my upbringing. I would say, if I look at BASF, but BASF has always had a very, very strong strategic mind. Yeah. So people say BASF is a big, big tanker ship. Yeah. So to get it moving, it takes some time. But once it's moving, it really moves. Yeah. And once it sets a course and sets a direction, you can't really stop the big tanker. Yeah. Then the other flip side to that is adaptability, when something goes wrong. But I think a strategy, strategic direction, strategic vision, I would maybe give to the German. But everybody could do that, not only the German. And then operations and finance. I would probably assign finance to the Indian.
Yes.
I have met many Indians along my 24 years career that they're extremely sharp. They're extremely good with numbers. They negotiate the heck out of you. So I would give finance. I would sleep very comfortable knowing that my CFO, and by the way, obviously my CFO is Indian. I would sleep very comfortable knowing that my CFO is Indian. And then operations. I obviously lived in Russia. We had a lot of sites there, and Russians are sort of an interesting mix, because when I look at Russians, I look at they're disciplined, but not as disciplined as Germans, maybe, and structured as Germans. But they still have the emotional element as well, like a Latin American and South American, very emotional, very family oriented. So it's like a mix between the two worlds. But they still have also the discipline to run plans efficiently and effectively. So operations, maybe I would give to the Russian. So
great answer, by the way. Absolutely, it fits my kind of understanding of each of these. And I think I would have also picked maybe 3 to 4 out of that 5. Would have probably come at the same answer as you. Let me move on to a slightly different topic, which is that about adaptability and agility that you require in today's world. And organizations are kind of in constant flux, right? I mean, they're changing quite rapidly, and I know BASF is kind of going through and has gone through a lot of changes, organizational changes, structures being changed, etc. And I'm sure many of them are going to face that in the next 5 to 10 years' time as they get into their career. So my question to you is, you have obviously experienced this, right? I mean, suddenly the whole structure changes, and as you are in the lower pecking order, you don't know, where you're going to be. Have you had those experiences, and how do you deal with those kinds of experiences?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've all had that, and change, I mean, the only thing constant in life is change, right? So
Yeah.
change will always happen in your personal lives, but also in your professional life. So, and it's intrinsic in us as human beings to adapt to change, yeah? I mean, we overcome barriers, we overcome challenges intrinsically. Maybe it takes sometimes more time,
Yeah.
you know, because you need some time to adapt to the change, but I think change is imminent. But sometimes change is sort of forced on you because of an external impact, be it COVID, for example, which certainly impacted all of us when COVID hit, and it was very brutal. And then you had to really quickly, it was more of a crisis change situation, probably, yeah. So sometimes these changes happen in that way, yeah, that, you know, a crisis hits. Or, you know, one personal example, I was actually in Moscow, Russia, when Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
And that was also sort of an external element that came in. And then my wife was pregnant at the time. She was very advanced in her pregnancy. So soon she would not be able to board a plane anymore. We had 3 small children, a dog. And at that moment, you know, on the 24th of February 2022, we did not know, the world did not know how this will end up. You know, will there be a third world war? How will NATO react? How will the US react? So obviously foreign ministry at that point did not yet make any recommendation to German citizens or Argentinian citizens living in Russia. But we decided as a family, my wife and I got together, and then when those type of moments happen, your focus goes crystal clear. It's about the family. You know, what do we do as a family nucleus now? Do we stay? Do we leave? And I was, by the way, also responsible for Ukraine. So I had a business responsibility for Eastern Europe. I was located in Russia, but I was also responsible for Ukraine. It was important.
And a very profitable business.
Very profitable business, both Ukraine and Russian business. So, so I took a decision with my wife. We will leave, yeah, and because also to get a baby out of Russia, you need an exit visa. So what happens if you know that is not possible? So we went. We took the last Lufthansa flight to Germany, and then I continued to conduct my job in a more neutral place, you could say, yeah, from Germany, supporting the business from there, and also having the mind space to really focus on the job, right? Knowing that, okay, my family is now back in Germany, close to our families, and then our daughter was born as well that same year, and I could really focus then my attention on you know, managing the crisis in Eastern Europe, and also assign the proper you know, attention to both Russia, our Russian teams and our Russian business, but also to our Ukrainian business, and it was a very difficult and intense year professionally and personally.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a change, and then in those moments you have to take decisions, right? And you don't have necessarily that much time to decide, and you have to make a call. And there's always trade-offs to every call you make. But in hindsight, I think it was right for us to do that, and I could really focus better on the profession. And then obviously organizational change. We're just undergoing an organizational change. We have a new CEO in charge since May. There is a new strategy that has been just announced. With the new strategy, also new changes are coming and have to be implemented. Yeah, so it's on us then to make sure that we implement effectively the changes. I think all changes make a lot of sense. So it's a lot about communication then.
Yeah.
You know, to make sure you communicate frequently. You especially explain the why, because every change comes with resistance to change. That's normal. That's human behavior, right? Changing is not easy. So you have to explain the why. You know, listen to all the questions, the concerns. Bring the teams along, and also involve the teams on the change journey, because that's when you get engagement. And that's when the implementation of the change really is effective. So those are elements that are important in any change.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. So a related kind of question, so in one of our conversations you had mentioned about how you have to see failure as a growth, right? So can you illustrate that? Because, typically most of us believe failure is something that you hide, but can you talk about, have you had a failure in your career and how has that kind of fueled your growth and personal growth and a professional growth?
First, I don't like the word failure so much, because failure always has a very negative connotation, right? Nobody wants to fail, right? So I always refer to setbacks. Have you had setbacks?
Okay.
Yes, of course. Setbacks have always been there. Early in my career, I remember when I had my first leadership experience in Argentina. That was a very, very difficult. I mean, I was very young. I was coming into a new country. It was the worst drought year we had in Argentina back in 2009. The worst drought, I think, in many, many years in the history of the country. So our crop protection, I was responsible for the agricultural business, the marketing for the agricultural business. Our business went down. And then we also launched a new product, and the positioning of the launch was maybe not ideal. And so there were setbacks there. And then since there was a lot of pressure on getting the business back up and running, making sure we also correct this launch of this product, I was focusing on Argentina, and I was not keeping connection to the regional headquarter, which was Brazil. And I think that was also a mistake, a setback. Because you always have to keep all the stakeholders, not only within your immediate responsibility, but also other stakeholders, like in this case a regional organization. You have to keep them in the loop, you have to keep connection. Absolutely. And that's something that I missed. So it was a very difficult experience. And in fact, when I moved from Argentina to the US, it was not a promotion. It was actually a horizontal move, which was also, and a small, I got a smaller team in the US, so you could have said, whoa, my career is over.
Absolutely.
I think it's done. But in fact, it was a good experience, because I let go a little bit of, I was very ambitious when I was young. I was always looking at the next step instead of focusing on the here and now. And this experience, transitioning from Argentina to the US, sort of released this pressure. I released this pressure from me about okay, I need to go to the next step, and what will be my career like. And I just said, okay, I'm going to focus on my job, and then if I do a good job and if opportunities come along, then it will happen. If not, it's also okay. So also this element of focus on the here and now. You will not be able to control the future, especially in a VUCA world like we live right now. Geopolitically, macroeconomically.
This is a great nugget of lesson again for all the students who are going to very soon kind of get out in the work world. And I've always seen there are people who always looking at every year, how do I get a new job, a new designation, another 15% pay hike, and you keep hopping from job to job. And I can bet you that after 5 jobs you will hit a ceiling because you would not have learned anything. So this whole idea of here and now and be present, really learn and be grounded, and that's what leads to a more sustainable long-term success is a great message.
And what I've learned with that is that opportunities then come naturally. And they're not sort of forced, neither by you nor by somebody else. So it really, then the opportunities came along.
Exactly.
See, bosses also don't want to have somebody always nagging, okay, when is my next job? Where's my next job? Well, first do your job right now, and then we'll see. Things will happen. So, so it's also, I think for me it was great because I really immersed myself fully into the challenges on the job and bring in all yourself, of course. I mean, you have to perform at the end, but things then come naturally. Opportunities come, arise.
So I'm going to kind of ask one last question and then open it up, because I know that students have a lot of questions, because I've got a few that they had sent. And the question is, do you have a bucket list of which continent and which country next from here? Or which countries and which continents? Not many left, though.
I don't.
You don't. You're going to take it as it comes.
But I see what I would say is I've been very fortunate also to have a wife that has been extremely supportive, you know, and very open also, and excited about change and going to different places, experiencing different cultures. So so without that family component and that support system, it would have been very difficult to, you know, and that's not necessarily always a given everywhere. So I've been very thankful for my family to have always been there supportive, and we like exploring different countries. Now, having 4 children now, obviously changes a bit the perspective on change also, and going to different places, because I mean our kids are still small. Our oldest, the twins, are 6 years old. I think when I came back to Germany from Central America, I was 11 or 12. I could still make it and adapt back to Germany, which was also not easy when I came from Central America. But I could sort of make that transition, but it was not easy, to readapt, you know, to the school system. I remember math. I had to catch up on math and sciences in general, because in Central America we were a little bit behind there, although I went to a German school in Costa Rica. So now that we have children, we obviously at some point might have to throw an anchor somewhere, which is not easy, because I regard myself sort of as a global citizen, and I really like this opportunity to also experience different cultures. So difficult for me to say. Obviously, we're also far away from our family. So my family is in Germany, although I have a brother in Mexico as well. And her family, my wife's family, is in Argentina. So every time we have a chance to travel and visit them, we try to be close to them. My parents are also not getting younger, and her parents is also. So we want to have this family connect and have my parents and her parents see the grandchildren once in a while. So obviously there would be a natural tendency at some point that we end up either back in Germany or in South America somewhere. But I can tell you, I'm very, very excited about being in India. And by the way, we're not looking for, there's enough to do here. We're very happy as a family here, so we're not looking for any change anytime soon. But Asia is an exciting place. India is a very, very exciting place to be, especially for our business. In fact, 80% of the growth of the chemical industry in the next 10 years will be in Asia. In 7 countries, China, India, and then 5 ASEAN countries. 80% of the global chemical market growth will be in Asia. So it is the place to be, and I could also see staying here in the region for quite some time. And maybe even in India for a long period of time.
Hey, so other questions? Anyone? Yeah, okay, there you go. I have some rapid fire questions that you have given me. I'll ask this afterwards, so you can go ahead.
Hello, sir. Given your vast international experiences across markets like Argentina, US, and Germany, how do you perceive India's current growth trajectory, except from what you just said?
Very exciting, I would say, as a word, because, I mean, look at the fundamentals. Look at the human dividend, 1.4 billion population, the largest population in the world, a very young population, average age 28 years, a growing middle class, an aspirational, strong aspirational population as well. 2/3 of the GDP in India is domestic consumption, so domestic consumption will continue to develop and to rise. So the attractiveness of the market, especially from a business perspective, is absolutely there. If you add to that also political stability, which nowadays, in the geopolitical world that we live in, is a very, very important element that gives confidence and trust for continuity, for stability. So that is another element that gives me a lot of reason to believe that this is really the time time for India. I always tell my team the stars are starting to align. Yeah? And also for us as a company, India is a clear strategic country. We call it an advanced country, so we want to actually outpace the market in the next years. Yeah? And we are looking at having bigger investments, both on the manufacturing side, but also on the R&D side that we bring to India. So it's really the moment and the time for India, and it's a very exciting time to be able to witness this time and to be part of, and also influence the journey that BASF will take in India. So very exciting time and the right time for India.
Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. Here. Can you just stand up? Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go. You've got the mic already, sir.
Good evening, sir. So, sir, my question is, how does BASF India nurture a culture of innovation within the organization, and how do partnerships with startups or academia play a role in this?
Very good question. Thank you for that. So first, so we have an innovation campus in Mumbai. We have an innovation campus where we do research and development for India, but also for the world. Yeah. So, and we're probably not the first, and definitely not the last company that is building up these type of capabilities, research and development capabilities, also in India. You have the expertise in the country. You have excellent universities, just like the university we're here today. Yeah, that develop young, bright, the future, talents of all the different industries. So you have access to very well-educated talent, top talent on the R&D side as well, which is why many companies are coming with more hubs, also R&D hubs to India. So I think we are already very active when it comes to research and development in India, and we'll probably, with our new strategy, also look in expanding those capabilities as well. And the relationship the relationship between industry and academia is extremely important. I mean, we have constant relationship to Somaiya University. I really appreciate the relationship with Somaiya University. We have actually one program that is called WeChemie that we recently launched together with Somaiya University and the Indian Chemical Council, because the diversity and inclusion is also a very important element of our strategy. The chemical industry is not necessarily a sexy industry, right? So most of you probably wouldn't have thought, okay, I really want to join a chemical company, right? Usually pharma industry, IT industry, finance industry is probably more sexy, more attractive, or is regarded that way, right? So we also as an industry have to, not only as a company, but as an industry, have to, create awareness that, working in a chemical company is actually great. I mean, we always say the chemical industry is actually the mother of all manufacturing industries, because chemistry is everywhere. Chemistry is in the car, chemistry is in a lot of the fast-moving consumer goods that we purchase on a daily basis. A lot of people don't know that. So chemistry is actually everywhere, and a key enabler for all manufacturing industries to develop. Yeah, and sustainability is a very important pillar on that as well. Yeah. So, but coming back to diversity and inclusion, unfortunately, we're not gender balanced in the chemical industry. Yeah. So if you look at us, for example, 11% of our workforce are females, which is obviously not where we want to be. I have 2 daughters, 2 boys. Yeah, I would love, gender parity to be there, not only in my family, but also at BASF in India. So we launched this WeChemie program where we're upskilling, bachelors and masters of science of chemistry, female bachelors of masters in science and masters of science of chemistry, to get them closer to the industry. Because something that we also sometimes realize is that the academic education, there is a bridge that you have to do then to the industry as well. Yeah, and so doing sort of an upskilling, inviting these young female talents to come and see a chemical plant, talking to them about marketing, talking to them about sales, about supply chain management, about operations at a chemical plant, which they might not have experienced during their academic becoming a bachelor's and master's of science of chemistry, enables them to get familiar, get closer, and then hopefully also be interested to join the chemical industry. And I think we've had the second batch that we recently, this
Second batch graduated, third batch going
second
on.
batch graduated,
Yeah.
and it's really
Yeah.
a fantastic program, and all of these talents have been placed, either through internships, direct employment, or some of them have opted to go through higher education, but all of them have been placed, and I hope that we can move our gender balance to a better balance in the future. And it has to be the entire chemical industry to join forces here. Other companies, probably other educational fields. It shouldn't only be bachelor's and master's of science of chemistry. It can be chemical engineering. It can be marketing, business. So hopefully we can expand this program. Also have other universities join,
Participate.
other companies join, and then we can really move the needle, because to get the 11% up to at least 30% where we want to be, you really have to make sure that the influx of female talents into the chemical industry really increases substantially.
Yeah. No, great. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hope you're having a good time here in India.
Yes.
Hope you're having a good time. Different parts of the
Maybe change the. Go ahead.
You've been to different parts of world throughout your career. With the kind of background that you have in various international markets, what do you think? How do you think the role of innovation and research and development is evolving in India? And also, I have another question which is a bit off topic from the kind of question that is being asked right now. So you are a kind of person who would like to explore out of the comfort zone. So you might be encountering experience or life situations where you might have found out that the step that you've taken might have been wrong. So how do you handle that stage and the setbacks that you have faced in coming out of the comfort zone?
Yeah, thank you. So maybe let me start with the first question on the innovation element. I mean, I think a lot is happening on the research and development front in India in all the different segments of the industry. But of course, if you compare, I think the percent of GDP was mentioned in the session we had before. The percent of GDP that is, invested that goes into R&D. I think it's 0.7% or something, if I heard correctly.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%. In many other countries, it's 2 to 3%. So obviously there's still some room, some headroom, to intensify and increase the investments going into that space, and the efforts going into that space. But I think India is developing in all different segments on the innovation front, and I think there's a lot of examples where India is leading from an innovation standpoint as well. And what is very unique and probably also a competitive advantage is this focus on cost, this cost sensitivity. I mean, that's always been regarded a little bit of, okay, India has not necessarily in all segments been the highest margin segments, right? But I think this is actually a strength, because if you build on making sure that you extract the most out of your products, your solutions, your innovations, you can get a much higher impact and adoption rate as well, right? So yes, innovations tend to be more expensive, but I think in India they will be a little bit more expensive, but not massively more expensive like maybe in other countries. And then the adoption rate is really enormous, and that way you get the innovation also being utilized much more. So I think intrinsically, out of this focus on cost and you have to create value. And yes, there is willingness to pay a premium, but it has its limits. Forces also companies to bring innovations, but produce those innovations very effectively and cost consciously, because we have to acknowledge that we can't demand a premium that maybe you can demand in other countries. Yeah, so I think that's a challenge on the one hand side, but also an opportunity that if you get it right as a company to bring in innovation that is maybe a little bit more expensive, but not massively more expensive, the adoption rate is immense because everybody wants to have an innovative product, right?
Yeah. But I mean, just to respond to that, India, nothing explains what happens in India as a principle. I mean, it's a country full of paradoxes. So, for example, I mean, we were with the MD of the head of sales of Mercedes, and Mercedes is the car which is one of the highest growth in India. They're growing for the last 10, 15 years at 35-40% growth rate. And yet, Nano, which theoretically would have fitted India perfectly from this perspective, cost and innovation, failed. Tata basically shut shop on Nano. So it's a very paradoxical country, and so there is no fundamental principle that fits. There are products that are very expensive which gets sold, so yeah, so maybe that's my... listen, we're going to kind of running out of time, but the students have put together some very interesting questions which is called as the rapid fire question. So you're not allowed to think, you have to really respond very quickly, okay?
I'll try.
So I'm going to ask you a few of that and then we'll wind up with that. So the first question is, if you weren't in business, what would you be doing?
If you what?
If you were not doing business in BASF, what else would have been your career? Would you be playing soccer for Germany or?
No, I was not good at soccer. I played hockey, field hockey. By the way, India is historically very strong in field hockey, and I think it's taking a resurgence. I know cricket has taken over everything, but maybe I would be a field hockey player.
Oh, okay, yeah. So have you traveled much in India? Is there a favorite travel destination in India?
We've tried in the last one, and I've been very busy at the same time because obviously I travel a lot in the country to visit all the production sites of BASF and engage with the teams there, also visit customers. But we've been to Goa, we've seen the Taj Mahal, and we're looking forward to travel more.
Okay, but no favorite destination yet? Which
no, and I would probably never say which one is my favorite because see what I've learned in all the countries that I've been to, there is no perfect country. By the way, Germany is not perfect by any means. Yeah, so there's no perfect country, but every country is special.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the special elements that you experience in the countries, that's what really makes it special. Makes it interesting. So. India is a beautiful country, and there's many beautiful places to go. I think we rather have the problem, where do we go first? How do we prioritize our journey within India? But we're really eager to experience all of India, all the corners of the country.
Okay. Yeah. So do you have a favorite business quote? Business quotation. Yeah.
Business quotation.
Jack Welch said this, or. Oh, it's okay.
Don't expect. I think this was Einstein who said, "Don't expect something different if you continue doing the same today." Right. So it goes a little bit. It goes a little bit into stepping out of your comfort zone as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what fictional character do you relate to most?
What fictional character?
Yeah.
See, I don't watch so much fiction. I'm more in the here and now, in the business reality. So let me think. What fictional character do I relate the most?
James Bond, or?
See, my kids are into Spider-Man and Batman and Superman.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not any of those, for sure.
Okay.
I don't have the the magic that these fictional characters have, but maybe a mix of them. Maybe to my kids, I am still, they're very young, and maybe they still look up to me at this point. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, the one that I relate to is Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah. I always, despite all my things, end up with very famous characters like Perizard and you know, which what happens in Forrest Gump's life, right? Yeah. Last one. So obviously, you've now taken to Indian food. Is there a favorite cuisine, Indian?
Yes, I love
tandoori chicken.
I love the, how are they called, Purna? I love Sampara. No, how they call the not empanada, but samosa. Sorry, I should know that word.
Okay.
Samosa. I love samosas.
Very good. Okay. Great. Okay, so that brings us to the close of this session. So Alex, thank you very much. That's been a wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know they have a lot more questions, but I think we are running out of time. I think you need to get back as well. So with that, over to you.
Thank you, Raman.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite Professor Sangeeta Raj to present a scroll and express gratitude on behalf of KJ Somaiya Institute of Management.
Good evening all. To Alexander Gerding, sir. With a smile that leads, calm and bright, you stride through boardrooms, setting the light. From Germany's lands to India's shores, your leadership speaks, opens new doors. Harvard sharpened your strategic mind, a global outlook, both wise and kind. Today, you stand as a mentor and guide, inspiring us all with experience wide. From continent to continent, you have traveled far, guiding teams and businesses, raising the bar. At every step, you have stood tall, leading with vision, inspiring all. BASF's influence on you is deep. Likewise, your influence on BASF is deep. In everything, you lead with skill, turning vision to action with strength and will. With Indo-German ties, firm and true, you build bridges, old and new. In market stuff, you make your stand, leading teams with a steady hand. As mentor and guide, you stand here today, inspiring futures with every word you say. For all you have achieved, we celebrate you. Your journey inspires many, not few. Thank you, sir.
Parth. So he wrote that.
Picture with him. Well done.
I request Parth to come forward with a mark which we would like you, sir, to sign as a memento for us. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to Alex. Yes, sir. It's more. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to Alexander sir for gracing us. Your presence has been both inspiring and invaluable. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Raman sir for his invaluable contribution to the fourth lecture of our initiatives, careers and conversations. Your insight have made this event truly remarkable. I would like to extend the thanks to Arun sir, Arvind sir, Sangeeta ma'am, Meenal ma'am, the technical team and support staff for ensuring the success of the event with their remarkable efforts. Furthermore, I want to acknowledge the continuous support of the PR and branding committee and the alumni committee to everyone present here. Students and faculty, I thank you all for joining us for this informative session and being such a great audience. I would now stop the live screen.